Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome to another edition of Socrates Explains Everything. My name is Socrates. I like to explain things. Today's an auspicious day because today the world is going to cross 2 million cases of coronavirus. It's an unfortunate, can't call it a holiday, but an event.
Yeah, and then I'll give you an idea of where to go to.
All right,
Why can I give you an idea of where to go to?
so basically, in the first million took from the end of November until the 3rd of April for the first million cases to pass. And on April 3rd, we crossed 1 million cases across the world. And on the 4th, there was 100,000 new cases, or a 10% growth rate for the disease, which is an incredible exponential growth rate. Now, since then, it took until the 15th of April, or 12 days, to do the second million people. Now, at this point, the worldwide growth is only 60,000 new cases a day. So at this point, the growth rate has been dropped down from 10% to 3% because social distancing is actually starting to work, and we're having a positive effect on the disease. And you can see it in the curves where a very clean exponential curve very consistently can be seen across the world and across individual countries. But if you look down at the individual level and how different nations have reacted to requirements, lockdowns, and levels of lockdown, in the United States there's currently 610,000 cases, and just now there's 27,000 new cases in the last day, which is under 5%, which is good. They've broken the back of the growth curve because, again, around 10% daily is the natural growth curve for coronavirus, or so it would appear anyway. I mean, you can look at Spain, which had a huge outbreak and got ahead of it as quick as they could with 177 total cases, 177,000 total cases. And in the last day, they only had 2,500 new cases, which is under 2%, actually under 1.5% growth rate. So at this point, the Spanish authorities and the Spanish people have done a pretty good job of keeping it down. I mean, Italy was one of the worst cases around the world, and they have a total of 162,000 cases, but they only had 3,000 new cases the last day, which is higher than Spain, but still under 2%, which is getting close to being able to crush the disease. Germany, which had an incredibly fast reaction, has 132,000 cases, but they just had over 1,000 new cases yesterday, which is under 1%, which is definitely the trajectory you want to be on. And you can compare that to the United Kingdom, which was slow in the response, and they have a total of 94,000 cases, but with 5,000 plus cases new just now, their growth rate is just under 6%. So it's better, but by no means out of the woods yet. You know, Iran had one of the worst initial cases. Their culture just lent itself to coronavirus transmission. But now with 76,000 total cases and just over 1,500 new ones this last day, they've cut it all the way down to 2% growth rate, which is pretty phenomenal. Here in the Netherlands, with 27,000 infected, we only had about 900 new cases yesterday, but that's still around a 3.5% growth rate. And the social distancing measures are working though, so it's just a matter of maintaining it and giving less opportunities for the disease to transmit itself. I mean, you can compare Canada, which is very similar in infection rate at this point, or infection size, with another 27,000 cases, but they had 1,500 new cases yesterday, which gives them approximately just over a 5% growth rate. So again, they've knocked it in half, but they still have more to go. And then some of the countries where it's getting worse, or at least have more to do, or the methods have not been as effective as they could be, or need to be, is like Turkey, with 65,000 total cases, but with over 4,000 new cases, they're still at around a 6% growth rate. and that's still just way too high. Then Brazil with only 25,000 cases, but at just under 2,000 new cases, they're almost a 7% or more than a 7% growth rate. And again, the measures are just starting to take effect in these places. You know, a lot of discussion was made of Russia. Why does Russia have so few cases? Well, Russia was just late getting to this horrible party. For whatever reason, the diseases hadn't been tracked there or hadn't gotten there. But now Russia has 24,000 cases and one of the worst growth of any country I could find, with almost 3,000 new cases yesterday. They're averaging about a 12% growth rate, so even higher than the disease sort of on the natural left open curve. So Russia is definitely highly affected, and you can see almost a perfect exponential curve when you look at the graph. You know, India is another country that is huge with well over 1 billion people, and with only 11,000 infected, but they had 1,000 new cases in the last day. And so you're looking at about 9% growth rate with the country with 1 billion people. That's just not good. You know, Sweden has done a different job of it with a more loose version of lockdown, and you can kind of see it in their chart. Doesn't really want to flatten, but so fast, with 11,000 total cases and only 500 new ones, it's still more than a 4% growth rate. And we'll see if this can fully flatten. They've obviously done some work to keep it down because it's not at the 10%. And the worst one I could find anywhere, unfortunately, was Peru, with only 10,000 infected. But yesterday they recorded 2,500 cases yesterday, which is more than a 20% growth rate. Now today they only reported 500, which is about a 5% rate. So in between the two is probably the accurate number, which is probably closer to 1,000. So Peru was probably running a 10% growth rate as well. So, you know, these are where the numbers show the truth. You know, that diseases can grow exponentially. You know, exponential growth doesn't make sense for the most cases. You know, like an economy, as I've said in capitalism, it can't grow forever exponentially. But diseases, viruses, bacteria, they use exponential growth as a survival strategy, knowing at some point they will max out their resources or whatever, but in the process they will create uncountable trillions of them. Have you ever seen a bacterial mat? It's a physical bunch of stuff that's just literally nothing but bacteria. Trillions upon trillions of bacteria. Because bacteria can grow exponentially until they overwhelm the situation and their conditions and the environment. And coronavirus is an incredibly good exponential growth virus. So we have to take this seriously, keep doing social distancing. You can see where it works and, you know, where it's not working or being applied. Because Russia has one of the scariest looking curves you can possibly see. You know, it's a very clean curve, so it gives you a little bit of confidence in their data or the data reporting. You know, one thing with data is any errors are consistent. I only look at these same Johns Hopkins numbers. You know, when there's a change in the recording, you'll see a sudden bend in the curve, and then you essentially average out that curve. When it's a little bit jaggedy, you just sort of draw an averaging line through it, and you can essentially see, or is it going this way and vice versa, and the averaging line that goes through it, and that's how you look at your average curve. But I think that we're on the right path, and at some point we'll get to go back to society, which would be nice, because I kind of miss it. And well, unfortunately, hopefully we won't hit 3 million. You know, hopefully we'll keep this 3rd million will take forever to happen. That should be the goal. You know. So anyway, keep yourselves healthy. Wash your hands. Like and subscribe to the video. Did you make it this far? I'm impressed. Anyway, take a look around. I'm in the middle of it's like wild garlic. The whole place smells like garlic.